Who's the dumbest person you've ever met? A girl in my school was using a calculator on a test and typed in the math problem in wrong. She then proceeded to type syntax error as an answer. Leslie, I typed your symptoms into the thing up here, and it says you could have network connectivity problems. Andy Dwyer. Back in high school, a guy named Kevin was arguing with me, and anyone who would listen, saying that STDs are prevented by having sex. After about a minute of explaining to him what STD meant, I decided to just say, let's agree to disagree. But he didn't let it go. He pulled out a $50 bill from his wallet and bet me that he was right. After he looked it up, the crowd mentality forced him to pay up. TL, DR dumb high school student bet me $50 that STDs are prevented by having sex. My psych class. One girl asked, is I color behavior? Not really stupid, more WTF. But she also said she wanted to have a pet baby. Not wanting a pet or a baby. A pet baby human. It's not uncommon as a teacher to have students who are a bit behind the curve in certain aspects, but 99.99999% of the time, they are keen on something. They might not understand how to identify a noun or what theme is, but they somehow know how to make a mean plate of nachos. You learn pretty quick to not judge fish for their tree climbing ability, you know? I thought this was a rule when I was teaching until I met Kevin. Kevin isn't his real name, but it doesn't matter because he can't spell it anyway. Kevin was a student of mine during my last year of teaching. He came to my classroom with very little to show for his academic past. He had moved a few times and thus was missing a lot of typical test scores that we use to try and ballpark their ability. Don't worry. It was a ballpark. We didn't make major decisions until we actually had a chance to talk and work with a student for a bit. I thought, that's fine. I'll just do some one-on-one with Kevin and see what's up. One-on-one with Kevin was like conversing with someone who'd forgotten everything in a freak, if not impossible, amnesia incident. There was no evidence that he had learned anything past the second grade. And now he was in ninth grade, flabbergasted. I figured we needed to get more serious with this. If he was going to be in my class, I needed to know why and how. I decided to meet with him, his guidance counselor, his parents, and another teacher to see what was really going on. This is where it all became clear. It was by some incredible fluke that his family hadn't been wiped off the face of the earth years ago. Odds are his entire heritage was based on blind luck and some type of sick divine intervention that saved his family every time a threat presents itself. Kevin was the genetic pinnacle of this null achievement. Even my instructional lead, a woman who could find a redeeming trait in a Balrog, failed to see any reason this kid or his family should be alive today. So here's a list of events that made it abundantly clear that God exists and he's laughing uncontrollably. Kevin frequently forgot where class was. On more than one occasion, I had to retrieve him from other classrooms. Kevin ate an entire 24-pack of crayons, puked, and then did it again the next day. This is ninth grade. I have no idea where he got crayons. Kevin's dad wrote tuition checks and mailed them to me, his English teacher. This was a public school. When I gave it back to Kevin, voided, to give to his dad with a brief note explaining that this is a public school, Kevin got in trouble for trying to spend it at 711 after school. Kevin was removed from a culinary arts program after leaving a cutting board on a gas stove and starting a fire. Twice. Kevin threw his lunch at the school resource officer and tried to run away. He ran into a door and insisted it wasn't him. Kevin stole my phone during class. I called it. It rang. He denied that it was ringing. Not that it wasn't his. Not that he did it. No, he denied that the phone was actually ringing. He tried it 3 times before the end of the year. Kevin called the basketball coach a mother-freaking bee during gym. Basketball tryouts were that afternoon. Kevin tried out. It didn't go well. Kevin's mom could never remember which school he went to. She missed several meetings because she drove other schools, none of which he ever went to. Kevin tossed himself in the neck before a football game. Kevin kept a bottle of orange Kool-Aid in his backpack for about 4 months. He thought it would turn into alcohol. He drank it during homeroom and threw up. Kevin said the N-word a lot. Kevin was white. The high school was 84% black. Kevin got beat up a lot. Kevin stole another student's iPhone and tried to sell it back to them. Kevin didn't understand that his grade was dependent on tests, quizzes, homework, classwork, and participation. Kevin finished his first semester with a 3% average. He tried to bribe me with $11. Kevin spit on a girl and said, "You should get out of those wet clothes." The girl was a Spanish student teacher. Kevin didn't know dogs and cats were different animals. Kevin tried to download porn onto a computer in the library at the circulation desk while he was logged on. Kevin asked a girl to prom. He was in 9th grade, and freshmen don't go prom by asking for her phone number and then texting her his address. Kevin got gum in his hair constantly. Kevin regularly tried to cheat on assignments by knocking the pile over, grabbing one before I'd picked them all up, and then writing his name on it wherever there was room. Kevin had several allergies, but neither his parents nor he could remember what they were. They were very concerned that the holiday party, his high school, we don't have those, would have peanuts. When they finally got a doctor's note, he was allergic to amoxicillin. Kevin and his parents took a trip to Nassau. How the heck did they even get airline tickets? And forgot all their luggage at home. I didn't believe him when he told me until I talked to his mom, who told me first thing when I saw her at the bi-weekly meeting. Kevin's grandfather apparently died in a chainsaw accident. I can only assume God was looking the other way that day. Brother's girlfriend. Did you know Poland was the only country not affected by World War II? Hitler wasn't a bad guy. They just gave him the wrong job. I like cows. They're cute and they have big eyes, but I don't like horses. They're big and they look like cows. Wine that comes in plastic is fancier than wine that comes in glass bottles because plastic has more technology. As my brother is cooking her filet mignon, she looks at the steak in the pan for a minute before asking, "Is that the whole fish?" This girl I had a one-night stand with and eventually became friends with until I couldn't stand her anymore when I was an undergrad. Sounds terrible, but it's true. Now, let me just say, I am no Mensa member by any means, but I'm reasonably smart, was in a good STEM program and a good uni. High GPA, well-rounded education/outside interest in multiple subjects. However, when I drink, you can imagine where this is going. Anyway, got drunk and had sex with this woman who was, honest to God, really nice. But man, was she freaking stupid. She wanted to be an elementary school teacher, and thank Christ for that, because I don't think she would have had the mental capacity for anything above a 6th grade education. And even then, here are a few gems. I swear, cannot make this stuff up. Filling out medical information for her teach for American application. Her, it says to check any illnesses that I have. I have hepatitis C, don't I? Me, you don't have hepatitis C. Her, I feel like I caught one time. Me, her, oh, you know what? I think it's herpes that I caught one time. Me, that was a canker sore. Interjected during a convo about European political affairs. Her, I thought Georgia was a state in the U.S. Everyone. Her, what's all this Russia bullcrap? After a reproductive biology lecture. Her, well, like, he came inside me, but I washed down there afterwards, so there's like no way that I would be pregnant. Me, are you on birth control? Her, I just got off like 3 months ago. But, like, I just got off, so there's no way. Me, did you use a condom? Her, no. Me, you should take a pregnancy test. Her, nah, I think I'll be fine. Talking about study abroad. Me, you could always go to South Africa. I've been. Her, yeah, but where? Me, South Africa. Like, the country. Her, yeah, but which one? Me, the country, South Africa. Her, I thought you told me Africa was a continent. Me, are you being serious right now? Her, getting frustrated. Yes. Where do I go? Overheard at the International Student House. Her, so is Germany a part of Europe or England? And on a separate occasion, her, do they have color televisions in Spain? And another occasion, her, well, I mean Japanese and Chinese are practically the same language, right? And yet again, her, why is there the essay at the end of Asian races? Like Vietnamese and Japanese and Chinese? Me, jokingly, good-naturedly, like Portuguese? Her, yeah, when I told her I am Brazilian. Her, oh, do you speak Mexican then? Asked after receiving their grade on an exam out of a possible 100 points. Her, how do you figure out the percentage for 61/100? Helping with history homework. Me, so, Côte d'Ivoire recently had a coup. Her, a what? Me, a coup? Like, overthrowing a government? Her, me, you might have heard it pronounced coup. Her, oh, me, do you know? Her, no, what is that? On why she was so adamant about voting for a certain candidate during the last election. Me, so, why do you want to vote for this candidate? Her, because he's doing a lot for education. Me, like what? Her, a lot? I could go on, but now I feel like a jerk. Downvote the guilt out of me. This girl saw a double cheeseburger on a restaurant menu and she got all excited, thinking it meant double cheeseburger extra cheese. She was confused when there was 2 patties in the burger. That girl was me. My boyfriend still laughs at me. TLDR, I like cheese. I worked with this girl last summer who was beyond dumb. At first it was amusing, but then it just got really sad. We were talking about Nelson Mandela being really sick. This was in June. And she said, well, I sure hope she'll be okay. Her music is so good. She thought World War II was between America and Africa. She thought potatoes could only grow in America. And when asked what her boyfriend's name was, she said, I can't really pronounce it, so I just call him Mike. He spells it like Michael. This girl I knew used to rewind YouTube videos, so the next person wouldn't have to wait. I simply tipped my fedora and let her carry on. Katy Perry once shopped the Whole Foods market I manage. She wouldn't let my cashier's hand touch her food. The personal assistant proceeded to take my cashier's spot, insisting Katy may get sick from worker contact. That's pretty dumb. Edit. For the record, this sort of thing is pretty common. Katy may have been weirder than most, but famous people get strange about plebeian contact. Edit 2. I want to be very clear about something. She wasn't being AB about the checkout situation, just making a celeb request. Like I said, this happens all the time. I'm not posting this to paint her as a monster, just a bit dense. This isn't close to the stupidest thing, she said, but it's the only thing I can remember. Girl at my high school admitted in class to pouring an entire jug of antifreeze on her windshield to melt the ice. My ex-roommate's boyfriend. He was 22. He actually idolized Bieber, One Direction, etc., and did everything he could to be like them. He was also homophobic, probably gay because he often wore his girlfriend's clothes from Forever 21, and refused to get a job because the band is totally going to make it. He also pushed his girlfriend down a set of stairs and was so in love with himself that he took mirror selfies, posted them on his Facebook, then sent them to his Facebook page that he made for himself. Absolutely the worst person I've ever met. To make sure he didn't come to the house, I actually convinced him that our building was built on an ancient Indian burial ground and that strange things did happen from time to time. He never came back. I know a girl who wrote a paper about how polar bears only live in Poland. A girl in my class believed that Neanderthals ate ice and cheese. Bonus, she didn't know eggs came from chickens. She thought they were manufactured in a factory. We had to watch the movie Defiance in my English class, and afterward this girl put her hand up and asked, "Is Jewish a country?" Later on after watching Defiance, which is about 3 Jewish brothers in Nazi-occupied Europe, for the second time she asked, "Wait, were they brothers?" I wanted to throw a stapler at her. I was around 8 to 10, or whatever the normal age is when you know your own address, and I just made a new friend, and she invited me over to her house to hang out. I plan on dropping by after taking my things home, so naturally I asked for her address. She grabbed a paper and pencil and started drawing 3 houses. She pointed to the middle house and said, "I live here." TLDR, never talked to her again. Almost forgot about my college roommate. She once missed the first 3 exits to a city because she forgot where she was going. She once told me she would never breastfeed her children because it would hurt too much to poke the holes. When asked how she thought animals nursed their young, she said, "Well, don't they just gnaw the ends off?" Edit to add, she also got into a drunken knockdown fight in the street. with another girl over a gay guy. Had a roommate who was about 6 months late on rent. It's a 10-month lease, and we're in month 8. They're threatening to sue us. He got a tuition refund. $700. 2 months' rent. He goes to play poker with it. Despite our constant pleas not to, doubles up. He shows us the $1,400 because he's dumb like that. This is Saturday night. Office is closed Sunday. I go to work Saturday night and then work a long shift Sunday, feeling good. Monday after classes, he comes in. First question, did you pay the rent? Bumbling, stumbling excuses. I paid off some credit card balances and some other money I owe my parents. So how much did you give the complex? None. Blew my freaking lid. Almost punch him right then and there. I will bet every penny to my name that he went back to the table Sunday night and lost it all. Somehow, he came up with the money, though. The guy who wound up wanted to fight me because I was explaining to him that calamari was Italian for squid. He insisted people do not ever eat squid. The delightful conversation with a man who insisted all zebras in Africa are extinct, although I had just returned from there with photographic evidence from just 2 weeks before. Had a classmate in 8th grade who legitimately thought that the ocean had no bottom. Our teacher showed a diagram of the deepness of the ocean, and she just couldn't grasp it. I don't know how you get all the way to 8th grade without learning that the ocean doesn't just drop off into nothing. A girl in class said, "Wait, I thought pork chops came from chickens." My friend had it made into a t-shirt. A kid I knew in 5th grade, Stevie. One day the teacher is walking throughout the classroom, and his shoe gets stuck on some red sticky stuff. He looks at it, sees a short trail, and follows it back to Stevie's desk. He looks inside Stevie's desk and finds sticky red goo covering a piece of sticky red paper with good humor written on it. Yeah, Stevie brought a popsicle back from lunch and put it in his desk so that he could eat it later. Some girl I randomly met in public who was fighting with her boyfriend and tried to drag me into it to back her up. She kept insisting that there were 52 states because Hawaii and Alaska were the last 2. But there are 49 states because Pluto is not a planet anymore. Okay, let's see here. Had lice visibly crawling through her hair, but refused to believe me because it's that same rumor from 2 years ago starting up again. How did you hear it? How she couldn't feel them, and how I didn't catch them, I'll never know. Had breath like a rotten corpse. When I confronted her hygiene issues, she yelled at me for being Miss Perfect. At 16, when she was already dating someone, asked the teacher what contraception was. When I asked her why she wouldn't do work in class, she said, "I'll just fail." I told her I don't want to see her fail, and she said, "It's my choice." Couldn't say hospital. Still said hospital at 17. Deliberately ran into a wall to get the group's attention. Couldn't do a basic forward roll without falling sideways. I knew a guy very similar to her. He asked me if America was in Australia. He couldn't spell Harry Potter in 6th grade. He spelled it Habdi-Pobder. Same lack of hygiene as the girl. My step-siblings are 10 and 11 and can't read or tell the time, nor do they understand any of the films they watch. I showed Mulan to one, and she was utterly clueless as to what she was watching. I don't think she even grasped what Asian was. I saw her watching Big Brother and asked her to explain it to me. They're all actors. She started boasting about learning at school that nothing could be a liquid and a solid. I said, "What about water?" She shoots me the greasiest look, thinking I just proved how dumb I am, and I say it can be frozen into ice, followed by her face immediately changing to utter shock and embarrassment. The thing they all had in common is they all thought they were hot crap and smarter than everyone else. When I tried to teach my stepsister to read, she'd sit there laughing about how easy it was, despite not being able to pronounce anything. I might as well post here, too. In freshman year, about 2 whole months into our new classes, I came into class one day to meet a girl I'd never seen before. She looked familiar, though I sat down, and not so long after, she took her seat next to me. A few minutes later, I overhear her talking with some friends saying, Yeah, they told me if I skip one more class, they're kicking me out of school. Bull crap. What kind of place is this? That's right. She skipped 2 whole months of first period and had the audacity to complain about almost being kicked out of school.